Now they continue on a little while longer, and then Chaffee tells him, we'll skip the right flank tonight. You know Simonis already. Simonis is one of the other platoon commanders. Besides, we only have a little daylight, and I want you to get settled in by dark. You know the division order. Replacements don't go forward of the MLR for their first 5 days. It's a good order. Lets you get the lay of the land. Last summer, we lost some new people just because they got mixed up and made a wrong turn. They just plain got lost. Not their fault, of course, but they're gone nonetheless. Mac looked downcast at being shackled. Don't worry, Chaffee said. 5 days go pretty fast, and we'll count this as 1 day, so you only have 4 to go. So Mac Allen, who's all fired up about getting after it, he hears this rule about you can't go forward until you've been here for 5 days, and he looks all downtrodden because of that. Back to the book. They get to a position where they're about to go to sleep. They're back in a bunker now, and he's sort of back in not in the rear, but he's a little bit of the rear. He's with a mortar position, so the mortar positions obviously aren't right on the front. So he's back with them, and it's time to lay down. Back to the book. I said that was fine, and lay down, my mind churning with events of the day, hopes and fears both. But I was very tired. Then the air was full of sound. I sat up. Porterfield and Dodge were gone. Those are the two guys living in this bunker with him. I pulled on boots and snatched my helmet. You slept fully dressed with your web belt on, so I had the Smith & Wesson. Outside it was black, and then just below me a blinding glare as one of the mortars fired. It was followed by another off to the side, and then by a third. Somewhere over the ridge there was the rip of machine gun fire and an unfamiliar fire from another weapon. I started down the hill to the mortar emplacements, half sliding on the hard-packed snow. Porterfield grabbed my arm. Lieutenant, you don't have to stir yourself. You need your sleep. Didn't I tell you we'd probably have a fire mission? What is it? Gooks are pestering Mr. Flanagan is all. Listen, you hear it? That burp? That's a burp gun. Once you hear it, you'll never mistake it for anything else. I like how the guys are out there doing this mortar mission, and they're just telling the lieutenant, hey, you can just stay in bed. We got this. Don't worry about it. He's all fired up, running down there. They're like, hey, we got this. We don't. You need your beauty sleep there, sir. Yeah. Just take it easy. And a burp gun, this is a very common weapon. It's the most common weapon here in the Korean War for the North Koreans. The North Koreans made it. It was called a Type 49. The Chinese made a version of it called the Type 50. It's all based on a Russian version that was called a PPSH-41. And this is a 7.62 by 25 millimeter weapon. So not the same as an AK-47, a little bit smaller of a round, but a very reliable weapon.
Why do they call it a burp gun? Because it's like small bursts or something?
Because the noise it makes. That's why they call it that.
Yeah, it seems like a burp would be like a small burst of like quick rounds, like a machine gun.
I don't think I've heard one, but he can even say, he says, listen, you hear it? That burp?
Yeah.
That's a burp gun. So it must have had a really distinctive sound when it fired.
Yeah.
Back to the book. The morning offered no evidence of the night. Porterfield made coffee and said there were no casualties anyone knew of, though mortars might have gotten some people on the other side where they could not be seen.